Welcome to Turn Into Podcast. I'm Gina Baruch. Join me in my journey and discover how women's stories are woven into our lives, reflecting the beautiful tapestry of human experience. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Turn Into. I owe you a big apology for the delay with this episode. Yesterday was, let's just say it was eventful. I was literally sitting down to record when a tsunami alarm went off. Talk about unexpected turn. Just like in the movies, my first instinct was to run to the hills. But reality set in fast. Traffic was jammed, moving at a snail's pace, and most places were closing. The strangest part, some spots were still open, and there were incredible long lines for Chevys. People apparently getting their last sweet treat before the supposed wave. Thankfully, everything turned out fine. I am finally able to record this for you. To be honest, I thought long and hard about sharing this personal story, but ultimately decided to show up real. After all, my past is an integral part of who I am today. Get ready for a story of self-discovery, family secrets, and breaking free. It was 2000 year, and I had just turned 15. A sweaty, sticky feeling woke me up as sunlight cut through the curtains. A clear sign that it was going to be a hot day, but my morning started with a jolt. My underwear felt wet. A wave of confusion. Had I really beat the bed? A strong metallic scent hit me, and I shot out of bed, heading straight for the bathroom. And there it was, an intense red spot in my panties. There was no reaction, no shame, no guilt, no surprise. One of the advantages of growing up surrounded by women is that you get an early introduction to women's anatomy. By the time you start experiencing those changes yourself, there's no fear, just acceptance. I look at myself in the mirror. My legs seem too skinny, my mouth too big, and my front and back were flatter than a surfboard. Jeans just didn't fit right. If you ever walk the halls of a high school in my hometown, you would know that the Kardashians will look petite next to my classmates. As you can imagine, I was the perfect target for bullying. And if that wasn't enough, there was a lot of passive-aggressive communication happening right in my own home. My mother overvalued white skin, seeing it as a sign of beauty and nobility, while my sisters inherited her fair complexion and a profile nose. I was born with brown skin and indigenous facial features, a heritage from my father's great-grandmother. Like the ugly duckling among swans, I always felt like an outsider. High school was a huge leap. I was still very childish and naive. My little town was a shell, but now I had to travel daily to a neighboring city for school. That's where I met Elizabeth, the typical troublemaker. Pretty soon, we were skipping classes and getting drunk. One day, I woke up in a hospital with a massive hangover. My parents didn't approve of Elizabeth's friendship, so they didn't hesitate. They wouldn't let me finish the school year. Have you ever heard the quote, "small town, big hell"? Immediately, people started gossiping about me. To avoid having to explain anything, my mom and I temporarily moved to Sonora. Hupare is the name of my mom's hometown, a small community in the south of the Sonoran Desert. The highway was terrible. It felt like the taxi driver was playing a game, swerving to avoid every pothole. Meanwhile, I was fascinated, enjoying the landscape through the window. Infinite, perfectly green square fields, divided by water channels. We finally arrived. It looked like something out of an old Western movie. Sunny, dry, and dusty. The houses were made of mud and decorated with roof tiles. The predominant trees were mesquite and cotton. Nobody walked on the streets. Sometimes you would glimpse an old Chevrolet with an American license plate, or a horse-drawn cart far in the distance. There was only one elementary school in the center of the town, with a basketball court next to it, the main social gathering spot. I don't know the exact number of inhabitants in 2000, but my intuition tells me there were no more than 500 people, of which 50% were my mom's family. The town was divided by a wide street with the cemetery in the middle, acting as the frontier between Old Hupare and New Hupare. I asked my mom, "Which Hupare are we living in?" "The new one," she replied. "And what's the difference?" "I mean, the houses and appearance were the same, poverty and dust everywhere." She said, "In the old town lived the Yaquis, a population of the Mayo ethnic group." "Who lives in the new Hupare?" "The people who are not indigenous." That didn't make sense to me. For me, we all look the same. It took me years to connect this conversation with the unconscious daily speech my mom used at home to label other people based on their ethnicity. Fortunately, with the passing years, she changed her mind. My mom and I were staying at my grandmother's house. She was over 70 years old and spent most of her time in bed watching TV. Despite her age, you could see she was a tall, beautiful woman with white skin, olive eyes, and a profile nose. All my aunties, including my mom, inherited her sturdy legs. She was a young single mother with one child when she met my grandfather. Every day, he rode his horse in front of her house. My grandma would sit outside, waiting for him, trying to attract his attention. But he never looked at her, until one day, mad and frustrated, she threw a stone at him. After that, she had 11 children with him, 6 of them women. My mom was one of the last ones, and the only one who formally divorced. Every afternoon, all my aunties would gather on my grandma's porch to drink coffee and catch up on the latest town news. Who head off to chase the American dream? Who's expecting a baby? What couple just broke up? "Did you hear that Emita is getting married?" one of my aunties mentioned. "To whom?" "To a Jackie from Old Hupare," someone else replied. "Oh!" everybody exclaimed with faces of disappointment. "What a shame! She's so beautiful." "And what does he do for a living?" a voice from the group asked. "He's a teacher," another voice replied. My grandma would exclaim while looking at her nails. "And what about Patricia?" one of my aunties changed the topic. "Oh, she got engaged to a guy who owns many truck transportation businesses. You have to see the house he's building for her. A huge porch with a wooden door that cost him 3,000 pesos. Can you believe it? And he even ordered furniture from the United States. Lucky her! I'm glad that she found a gentleman who wanted to marry her," an envious voice said. People were saying horrible things about her, that she had been seen late at night with the Chapo's son. Who would want her after that? It was in this window of time that I took the opportunity to escape my mom's strict control. Because half the town was my family, she didn't worry about where I was. She knew perfectly well that if I got into trouble, she would know about it before I even got home. After finishing my duties, I used to get out to sell cookies and cheese. Then I would meet up with my cousins and we would play basketball, climb trees, cut mangoes at the orchard, ride horses, go to the river, walk on the highway, and watch sunsets. On our return, we will stop at my cousin's home. They were so poor that the whole family shared a single room. Yet somehow, there were always enough flour tortillas and beans for everyone, even the extra children who were automatically included at dinner. I felt immense happiness being there. One day, my friend Milk, a chubby blonde-haired 12-year-old, stopped by my grandma's house and invited me for a ride in his horse-drawn cart. I didn't think twice. I just jumped on the seat and enjoyed the 10-minute ride. By the time I came back home, my mom was waiting for me with the look of, "I'm about to kill you." "Where were you?" "I just went for a ride with Milk." "You don't go anywhere with a man without my permission." She interrupted my excuses with a slap on my face. At that time, I didn't understand my mom's reactions, why she was so apprehensive about letting us hang out with men. It wasn't until I learned about the secret stories of the women in our family that I was able to understand my mom's behavior. When she was 17 years old, she had a boyfriend who was doing his medical service at the little hospital next to her house. He left to finish his degree as a doctor and promised to come back and marry her. But in the meantime, her uncle started rumors that my mother had had sex before marriage. Because my grandfather was the town chief, a figure of authority, my mom became the shame that covered the whole family. She couldn't stand the pressure, so as soon as she met my father, she got married to clean her reputation and make her father happy. Of course, the marriage with my father wasn't meant to be and ended 10 years later. Besides that, there's another story that marked my mother. Before I was born, the youngest of my mom's sisters visited my hometown in Veracruz. During her stay, she got a boyfriend and engaged. Summer vacation arrived, and she went to Sonora, supposed to come back and get married. But in the meantime, she met another man and got pregnant by him. The shame covered the whole family, and soon her boyfriend in Veracruz found out the truth. Of course, he wasn't happy at all, but he accepted to marry my auntie even though she was carrying a baby from another man. My auntie had 2 more children with him and never worked. They had been married for 44 years, and every time his husband's betrayal wound is triggered, he reminds my auntie that she would be nothing without him. She will leave home and then come back because she has no money, nor intentions to work. As you can imagine, my mom was traumatized. One of her biggest fears was that her daughters would be dishonest, get pregnant, and be humiliated by people's gossips, just like had happened with her mother and her little sister. The years passed, but my mom still believed that the value of a woman was in the purity and chastity of her vagina. She wasn't concerned. She was obsessed with virginity. She allowed my sisters to have boyfriends, but they were never allowed to be alone. Usually it was her, Dahlia, or me who accompanied them during dates. My mom even checked my sisters' underwear in case they had some sperma. She was also monitoring my sister's periods to make sure they weren't pregnant. One day, my oldest sister dared to arrive a few minutes late from the agreed time. My mom became so enraged that she was calling her a slut and questioning what was she doing. Without even expecting it, a knife flew through the air. Fortunately, my sister dodged it in time. Have you ever watched the Virgin Suicides movie? Well, that film falls short in comparison to what we live at home. Fortunately, we were smart enough to get out of home without that end, but it doesn't mean that I didn't think about it. And if you reflect, you will realize that even right now, there are still a large number of people who believe that the value of women resides in the chastity of her vagina. Continuing the story, the new school year was about to start, so my mom and I came back to my hometown in Veracruz. But because I had gotten drunk one time, my parents didn't trust me and were constantly controlling my money and time. I knew education was the only way to escape the misery of my family, so I started high school again in 2001. 6 months later, my whole family fragmented into pieces. Without any notice, my older brother got married in secret to someone with a questionable reputation. My sister Cecile got an abortion from a married man. My sister Guadalupe was dating a man who hid his sexual preferences for other men. And my sister Dalia got pregnant without being married, while I was struggling with my own existential thoughts. I still remember the day my sister Dalia ran away. It was an early school day. As usual, my mom was still in bed. Dalia packed her clothes into plastic bags. My legs were shaking and a rush of adrenaline ran down my back while Cecile and I helped her to escape. She came back later with her boyfriend to confront my mom and tell her that she was pregnant. As you can imagine, my mom went insane. Well, she already was, but worse. What would people say? Traitors! You did it in my face! When I returned from school, my mom was burning my sister's pictures in the backyard. As always, my mom ran away to Sonora to hide her shame. My father wasn't happy about the news, but he accepted reality quickly. In fact, it was a relief for him because now he had an excuse not to pay for my sister's university. The months passed so quickly, and my nephew was born. He was so blond and skinny that he looked like a little chicken. We nicknamed him Pollito. As a first grandson, he was definitely a blessing, bringing so much joy to both families. At 21, my sister wasn't exactly humble, but motherhood, work, and weekend university studies rapidly matured her. Finally, my mom came back from Sonora, reconciled with my sister Dalia, and met her grandson. With the passing of the years and some tough lessons, my mom changed her perspective and recognized how wrong she was and how her excessive control just made us more and more rebellious. Today, we laugh and joke about everything we went through. I just wanted the best for you, she said. While her intentions were good, her view of the world was misaligned with reality. By focusing her whole attention and energy on banning sex, in the end, she got what she was asking for. And that's the only way we overcome our deepest fears, by facing them. We realize it's not the end of the world. You know, all families have their own shadow. In my family, it was sex. But in other families, it could be sugar, comic books, or religion. Shadows are created in families from beliefs rooted in judgment. And sooner or later, the shadow will come out so we can correct our view. Each member of the family plays a role to help unmask the belief and align with reality. And what is real? The only thing that is real is love. The rest is only illusions. Perhaps I had to go through all these experiences to find a better understanding of my own sexuality so I could live and express it without any guilt or shame. What a different world it would be if we could honor the power that resides in women's uterus, the infinite power of creation, the capacity to bring life into this planet, to feel joy and pleasure, to expand our creativity. Yes, ladies, the power, we have it between our legs. And it took me so many years and tons of mistakes to understand and respect this energy. Our body is our temple, and our sacred womb is the door to access this infinite power. If my story resonated with you or sparked something within you, please consider leaving a comment on this podcast. I would love to hear about your experiences. Here are some questions to guide your reflection, but feel free to share whatever comes to your mind. What was your reaction to your first menstruation? How do you experience your period each month? Is it painful, smooth, or somewhere in between? What sexual myths did your family or community hold? How have your sexual beliefs impacted your relationships? In what ways do you connect with or use your own creative power? As Joe Dispenza says in Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, your beliefs are the thoughts you keep consciously or unconsciously accepting as the law in your life. Whether you are aware of them or not, they still affect your reality. So if you truly want a new personal reality, start observing all aspects of your present personality. You must pay attention to your unconscious thoughts, reflexive behaviors, and automatic emotional reactions. Put them under observation to determine if they are true and whether you want to continue to endorse them with your energy. If you become more aware, you will become more attentive. If you become more attentive, you will be more conscious. If you grow to be more conscious, you will notice more. If you notice more, you have a greater ability to observe self and others, both inner and outer elements of your reality. Ultimately, the more you observe, the more you awaken from the state of the unconscious mind into conscious awareness. Thank you for joining me on this deeply personal journey. I hope it resonates with you and encourages you to reflect on your own power and paths to self-discovery. In our next episode, graduating high school coincided with my 18th birthday. Though I felt far from prepared for university, I was, to be honest, still quite childish. My mom stepped in with a suggestion. Spend a few months with one of my aunties in Tucson, Arizona, to gain some clarity about my future. My dad wasn't thrilled about the idea, but in the end, he supported me. So I looked into the passport requirements, secured my visa, and soon found myself flying into Arizona's arid desert landscape. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work I'm doing, please consider checking out my Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes. Your gratitude and support help me create more content you love. You can also follow me at Instagram at Gina Baruch Art. See you next week, and remember, you were born to shine.